just kind of driving around, and I saw that somebody was getting rid of some stuff for free, and I can kind of see from the corner of my eye this mid-century modern piece. You can tell that these people already moved out and it's just sitting in front of the driveway. Usually I have help, but somehow I have to make it work. I'm gonna try. Okay, not just that, but look at these goodies. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna be painfully honest, this is not a style that I would normally choose, but when I saw it, I couldn't help myself and try and see if I could make it look better. Can I make this free furniture find look like this? Or this? Stick around and find out. Just because it's not my cup of tea, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have potential and good bones. And at the end of the day, does it really matter what I think? We're still gonna save it from the landfill. And I'm also hopeful that by the time I'm done with it, many people will want it in their own home. Cosmetically, it has a lot of issues, and structurally, one big one specifically regarding the leg. I'll show them to you in a minute. A couple of good things is that the front and back legs are made out of solid wood, and it has dovetail drawers. The veneer on both sides has a lot of cracks and is very loose, but something really cool about this dresser or chest is the metal tag I found on the back. It indicates that it lived in St. Mary's Hospital in Minneapolis. Based on the style dresser and the metal inventory tag, we can tell that this guy goes back to the 1940s, 1950s. Back in that period, hospitals frequently purchased pieces similar to this one to use in patient rooms, nurse dormitories, or doctor quarters. Perhaps we're all asking ourselves the same question: how did it end up in the driveway where we found it? I guess we're just gonna have to live with a little bit of mystery today. Anytime I want to get rid of dirt or grime, I spray this degreaser from Simple Green, and sometimes when I have sticky residue like I do here, I like using this painting tool to scrape it all up. For some reason, every time I look at this guy, I can only picture it in a boy's or a gentleman's room or bedroom. You're gonna have to let me know if you get that same feeling in the comments. Perhaps it's the square shape or the Reese's carved wooden pull handles that, by the way, are a signature element of a mid-century style piece. Yeah, sometimes you have to break something apart, you know, before you can put it back together. Like, let the whole break happen so you can get the glue in there. There it is. While I was pulling this old drawer liner, I found that the leg wasn't the only thing that would need to be glued. This door front is gonna need to be reattached as well. My goal for today's makeover is to soften the overall look that this guy has, so it can be used in any space or room. And at the same time, I think this is gonna appeal to a larger audience. It looks like somebody had some fun coloring all the gouges, which we're gonna need to cover with wood filler. The missing chunks all over the drawer fronts make this guy a great candidate for paint. First, there is a lot of work we need to get done, like gluing the veneer on the sides. I'm going to start by intentionally cutting lines that follow the direction of the grain. This way I can loosen the veneer all the way through so that I can inject some glue in between the panel and the sheet of veneer. You can buy a whole bunch of syringes for a very affordable price on Amazon. And as always, I'm going to be sharing the links with you under the video description. For all my friends that want to learn about repairing vintage furniture, just make sure that you add plenty of glue for these type of repairs. Ideally, once you clamp them, you want to see some of that glue come out. That tells you that you've added enough. And then you can just wipe any excess off with a damp, sharp towel. Thankfully for the leg, we have a clean break. The only thing I need to make sure is that I scrape off any glue residue left from that black tape that they used to make a temporary fix. Same here. I don't think that you can add too much glue for a large leg repair like this one here. You're gonna want to make sure that you let it dry completely. For me, that means leaving it alone until tomorrow. Also make sure to glue some of that loose veneer on the front drawers. And then let's just not forget that one of the drawers was just falling apart. So I need to make sure to put that back together as well. For those of you who have watched this channel for a while, not sure if you realize, but anytime I pick free furniture from the side of the road, that's the furniture that needs the most work. And this one is not exception. As you can see so far, we've needing to add glue to a lot of different areas, and we have a lot more that needs to be repaired. It looks like the glue has done its work, and today I'm gonna be focusing on filling all of the areas that have chunks of veneer missing. Let's mix some bando here. I have a feeling that I'm gonna be using quite a bit. Anytime I have a larger area that needs to be filled in, I like using bando. If you've never worked with it before, don't let the stinkiness intimidate you. This is a 2-part epoxy, and it comes with a hardening cream that typically is a red or blue color. Once you add it in, you have a few seconds to mix it, and then you're gonna want to apply it quickly because it hardens fast, which I love that even if it's a large area, I can sand it after 30 minutes. For those of you watching who are interested in furniture refinishing as a small business or just as a way to make some extra cash or profit, typically a piece this size and style is not super sought out in my area. For that reason, I would probably price it in the low 300s. With that said, that doesn't mean that this is not a style that's popular in your area. That's why I always advise people to look and see what's popular, what sells quickly, and price accordingly. You guys, all the repairs have been completed, so now I'm using 120 grit to smooth the surface. I've been going back and forth about how to restyle this guy, and I showed you those 2 different options at the beginning of the video. I thought about adding fabric to the front of the drawers, but the recessed carved wooden pull handles make it a little challenging. And for that reason, I think I'm leaning more towards doing a faux wood technique. And it is going to be a dark gray color because I do think it fits the style. Here, after sanding, I'm just running my hand through it to make sure that I'm no longer feeling those cracks that the veneer had and that the surface feels smooth. Another way I can see this piece being used is as an entryway catch-all type of piece. I live in Minnesota. We have really tough winters, so it's really nice to have a place where you can just throw your gloves and hats. Or after taking Luna on a walk, I love having a place where I can just put her harness and leash. So for repairs that are a little more shallow, I like to use these glazing spot putty. I don't find it as resistant as regular wood filler, so again, I just like to use it on shallow areas, and I have a very small space to fill in here, so that's where I'm gonna use it on. I have seen plenty of other refinishers use these instead of regular wood filler. Maybe it's user error, but it hasn't worked that well for me. I do feel comfortable using on these very small patches. If you happen to acquire a piece that has a lot of damage or a lot of little dings or large gouges, you have to do many repairs, because I know that right now you wouldn't even pay me 10 cents for this guy. Choosing the right painting technique is going to make a world of a difference without your surface having to be completely smooth and perfect. I'm getting ready to apply primer finally after patching, priming, sanding my life away. Let's get going. I would say that the surface on this dresser looks as expected after it's been sanded, patched with Bando and glued. So I need the best primer that's gonna cover all the unevenness in the different tones. That's gonna help the paint stick as well. And that's why I'm using this Bean Shellac base primer from Sensor. I'm gonna be spraying a total of 3 coats, waiting half hour in between each one. I'm using the Home Bright sprayer here. I think they're discontinued, but I'm always gonna recommend the Flexio 3500 from Wagner as a great option. I did have some bleed through, so good thing I'm gonna be applying 2 more coats. Something else about white primer is that you can always count on it highlighting any little ding. That's why you see me sanding another round of Bando glaze that I needed to apply all over the piece. But that is okay, because I need to sand after priming anyway to make sure that the surface feels smooth to the touch. For the faux wood technique, we're gonna start by applying a base color. And I was just looking for like a soft beige, something very neutral. Once I was done mixing the 2 colors, I added just a little bit of water so that the output would spray consistently. And as always, make sure to protect my lungs by wearing a respirator. Don't even worry if you don't have a sprayer. You can easily do this technique using a roller and a couple other tools I'm going to show you in a minute. You guys have seen me paint this faux wood technique a handful of times at least. And I think most of the times I have used colors that will mimic wood. However, today I want this paint to look like it was stained with a gray color, so I'm gonna stay in the gray family. Another thing that will be different in this video compared to other ones where I've showed you the faux wood technique is that I'm only gonna be using paint. So I guess you could say that this will be a more affordable way of achieving a very similar look. So after going back and forth between the 2 designs that I showed you at the beginning, I opted to go for that more of a like great tone. And to achieve that look, I'm mixing these 2 pink colors from Fusion Mineral Paint. And then I ended up adding some water to create like a color wash. I'm gonna be applying this color wash using this deck brush, just a very light coat of it, and then I'm gonna be using this graining tool that you can find on Amazon. It's very inexpensive, and we're gonna drag it across as we're rocking it back and forth to create that faux wood technique. And once we're done with this step, then I'm gonna go ahead and apply a coat of a water-based stain over the whole thing to make it look even more deceiving. There's no other rules to it but to have fun. So let's get to it. As you can see, I'm misting just a little bit of water because I want my deck brush to slide smoothly. But one thing to be mindful is not to add too much water to this color mix. If you do, the color won't be as pronounced, and the lines that are supposed to be formed with the graining tool are gonna be too diluted and too spread out. If this happens, you can try and wipe it away with a damp shop paper towel and start over, or you can let it dry, apply your base color again, and try again. At this particular moment, I contemplated painting the technique just on the top, but I felt like it was still missing something, so I kept going. Another suggestion I have for you is typing around the parts that you're painting the grain on. This way your work is gonna look a lot cleaner and more professional. Another tip to help make this faux wood look real is dragging the wood grain tool in the same direction wood grain would go. You'll also notice that I'm offloading any excess paint that's accumulating in my tool using a shop towel. It makes a difference in how crisp the lines look. Our fake wood grain might look a little too dark right now, but I'm gonna tone it down by applying this water-based stain from General Finishes called Greystone. I let the stain sit for 2 minutes before wiping any excess back using a dry shop towel. If after doing this step you still think that the wood grain effect looks a little too loud, wait 4 more hours and apply a second coat of stain and you're gonna see it tone down dramatically. Make sure you're letting each coat of paint fully dry before moving to the next step, just to be on the safe side. I like to wait around 4 hours. We don't want to pull away any of our hard work between coats. And the same applies before applying this stain. I'm really content to where this project is at the moment, so I think I'm just gonna stop after this one coat.
Wish that I could stay in this moment forever, so I can hold you in my arms. I will carry you on my shoulders as long as I'm able. Scare the monsters under your bed. Deep in the abiding, liking for you is all I need. Until my heart gives in, I will do everything I can for you.
Let's get these top coated and staged, and hopefully out the door soon. As usual, I'm using my most trusted top coat, which is High Performance from General Finishes. I'm going to be applying 3 coats, waiting 1 hour in between. And of course, I had to stage it as a catch-all entryway piece. My friends, just like that, we have arrived to the finish line. If I could start over, and if I'm honest, I would probably redo the 2 top drawers because I don't think they look as settled as the rest of the piece, but overall, I'm happy with it. This is way more my style. You're gonna have to let me know how would you use it in your space, boys' bedroom, entryway. What are your thoughts on this technique using paint? And if you're interested on how much money I made from this furniture flip, stay until the end. I will see you guys next time.